Hey guys, this is Mitch with Finepoint CGI, and today we're going to talk about how to do Android plugins inside of the new version 2 plugin system inside of Godot. So we're going to go through the process of creating the plugin. Then we're going to talk about how to set up your entire build system to work with the new plugin. We're going to talk about how to get the plugin system working. We're going to add in the Android build template. Then we're going to talk about how to call those functions and get back information from those functions. And we're going to talk about how to attach signals to your Android plugin. So that's what I have in store for you guys today. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to actually go over some prerequisites. So if you don't have the ability to export to Android on Godot, be sure to run through that tutorial. I have it linked in the description below, so that way you guys can go through that, set up your stuff to get ready. The other big thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to have Android Studio installed. Android Studio is the default tool that a lot of people use when they actually do their development. Now, I actually have that linked in the description below as well. And if you go through that Android tutorial, I do install it in that tutorial. Now, once we have that, let's go ahead and actually get going. So first things first, we need to actually build our Android plugin. So let's open up Android Studio and create a new project. Now, if you have ever used Android Studio before and you open it up, it'll look like this. This is a previous project you had open, right? You can click File, New Project, and then go ahead and open up a new project. That will get you this menu here. If you've never opened up Android Studio, if I close this project, I believe it is right here, close, you'll see that it should show something like this. So you could actually come in here and click on New Project. So click on that, no activity, double click on that, and then let's go ahead and name it Android Plugin Tutorial. Now, you can come in here and change your package name to whatever you want. In my case, I'm going to go org Godot engine plugin Android plugin tutorial. Now, that might be required. It might not. It's something that in my testing, it seemed to work when I do it this way, but you might be able to get away with using your own namespace as well. Now I'm going to click finish, and that's going to go ahead and build this plugin. So we're going to let this run, and I will be right back. Now you will see here that we have a app, a Gradle scripts, and a Java section here. These are the major areas that you really care about, and your manifest is kind of important. So to explain the ecosystem of a plugin, and actually really just Android in general, is you have a manifest file. And this manifest file describes what you're building. And then you have your Java section, which is basically all of the code that's associated with that plugin. So if you're going in and you want to build like a Hello World plugin, which is what we're doing, this is where all of that code's going to live. And then over here on the bottom section is all of your Gradle settings. Now, these actually do matter quite a bit. Now you have the project Gradle, and then you have the build Gradle. Project Gradle, we're not going to mess with as much, but the build Gradle, we really will play with because there's a lot of changes in here that we're going to need to make. So let's start with the build Gradle, and let's go from there. So if we take a look at our build Gradle, first things first, you'll see it says ID COM Android application. Let's change that to a library because that's going to tell it to be a library. Simple enough. And now if we come down here, let's check our min SDK. Let's make it 24 because that's what Godot requires. And then let's come down here, change this from 1.8, or in this case, it's Java 8. I don't know why they do 18, but it's fine. We'll change it to version 17 because that's the version that Godot uses. So we'll go ahead and pull those guys in. And then for dependencies, we're going to add in the Godot dependency. The thing is for us to be able to use Godot assets as a feature inside of our plugin, we need to actually have it here. So we'll say implementation quote org dot Godot engine dot Godot colon Godot colon 4.2.1.stable. And I spelled stable wrong, stable. And that's going to give us the Godot engine source code. Oh, well, at least the plugin for Godot engine. So we can actually build our plugin. And from here, we can go up to our Android manifest and we can basically make some small adjustments here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this segment here. And I'm going to go bracket application, enter metadata, enter Android name is equal to org.godot engine.plugin dot v2 dot and then the name of our actual class. So what I'm going to do is name it Hello World. And then I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to say Android value org.godot engine dot plugin dot android dot android plug-in tutorial dot hello world, like that. Now you're probably wondering, okay, this is like magic here, right? So what is this doing? So what I'm doing is this is a class that I'm going to be creating. This is the location of that class. So you can see here, org Godot engine plugin android plugin tutorial, org Godot engine plugin android plugin tutorial. Now I should probably camel case this just because it makes more sense, though I guess really they didn't, so maybe we shouldn't, but I don't know if I like it. But you can see here that this is equivalent to this. And this is telling Godot where it exists inside the Godot ecosystem, if that makes sense. And what we'll do from here is we'll basically come in here. We'll double check this, make sure that it's happy, which it is. We'll go to our module, double check to make sure that that's correct. So we have our Android namespace config. I'm just looking to see if there's anything that mentions an application ID, which it does. It is right here. So we're going to want to pull this out. We don't need that. So we'll control S. We'll sync our Gradle. We'll let that sync. And then we'll come in here. We'll right click new Java class and we'll say hello world because that's the class that we're going to be building. Now you'll see that this matches this. This right here, this guy, this package matches exactly with this package here, if that makes sense. So that's how we do this. And then from here, we basically need to extend this class into some kind of Godot plugin. So we'll hit colon extends Godot plugin like that. And you'll see that we have an underline. So let's right click, show context actions, and there is none. So that's not great, but let's see if we can get this to work anyway. So we'll come up here and we'll say import org.godot engine dot Godot dot Godot, and then we'll also import org.godot dot plugin dot actually we should probably do Godot dot plugin dot Godot plugin. See if that works. It still doesn't like it. Class or interface is expected. Oh, I'm dumb. I don't need the colon. There we go. Let's try that. Let's get rid of the colon. Let's do show context actions. And you'll see that it has an implement method. So we'll click implement method and we'll hit OK. And it will implement our plugin name method. Now, what I'll do is I'm going to return quote our class name. Hello world, like that. And now this is where things kind of change quite drastically, actually. If we want to make a function, and in this case, we're going to make a hello world function, what we have to do is we have to make the function. So public void hello, right? The name of the function. Then all we have to do is write our code, right? So what I want to do is I want to make it so it does a modal pop-up, like a little toast message. So I'll say get Godot dot get activity dot run on UI thread new runnable, like that, public override run toast dot make text get Godot dot get activity comma quote hello world exclamation point. You can add as many exclamation points as you want. That's not going to affect anything. Dot toast comma toast dot length long. That's how long it's going to show. And then we'll say dot show. And that's going to show that guy right there. And that's all we really need to do. Well, not quite. we need to tell Godot that this exists. Now, back in the day, what we would do is we would have a function that called out all of the classes by name. But now with the new version of Godot, we could just hit at used by Godot, and that's it. And then it's going to get registered just fine. So it saves us a lot of trouble and it makes things a lot easier. Now you'll also notice that we have an underline here. So let's right click, show context, create constructor matching super. So we'll click that and it'll build out that constructor right here, which is another thing that we kind of need to have for this to work properly. So now at this point, if we click the build button, let's see what happens. Hopefully it works. Well, it looks like it's successfully built. So let's go out to where this is located. So we're going to right click and go open in Explorer. And that's going to open up an Explorer window right here. Let's go out to our app build, outputs, AAR, and there is our AAR file. Awesome, right? So now we have to get the Godot side to work, right? And that's going to be a whole process in itself. So let's head over to Godot. Let's hit new and say Android v plugin v2 tutorial, like that. I'm going to create that folder and hit create and edit. Now I'll snap Godot to our screen right here and you'll see we are in Godot. Hooray, right? So in order for us to be able to do plugins, first things first, we need to right click our RES and I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it add-ons, like that. I'm going to right click, open in file manager, and that's going to open up this in a file manager. I'm going to right click new folder and I'm going to call this hello world, like that. I'm going to double click on this guy and I'm going to come into my AAR file. I'm going to copy this AAR file and drop it in like that. And now we are pretty much good to go to set this up. So thankfully, Godot has relatively made this a bit easier for us. And then we'll go back into Godot. We'll go to project settings. We'll go over to plugins and click create a new plugin. And for the name, we will call it Hello World. For subfolder, we need to choose where it's going to be. I believe we chose, if I remember correctly, Hello World. So we'll do that. So we'll say Hello World. For description, we'll say test plugin for Godot integration. For author, we'll say Mitch. Version 1.0. Language, we'll do GD script, though technically you could probably get away with whatever you want to call it. Now, for the script name, what we need to do is we need to come up with a script name. So in our case, I'm just going to say hello world.gd. And we'll need to choose a subfolder. So I guess I did this backwards. So let's go ahead and fix that. So let's go in here. Let's get rid of our hello world folder and do that. So we'll hit create, and that's going to create the subfolder. So it looks like it already creates that subfolder, and then we'll go into our AAR and we'll drag our debug AAR into here like that. Simple enough. And you'll see that we have an enter tree and an exit tree. Now, the nice thing about these class here is that it's actually relatively easy to build out this thing. So Godot went from a configuration system for your plugin to they basically combined the plugin system so that instead of it being separate for Android and everyone else, they made it so that everybody uses the plugin system. So that's kind of the route that we're going here. And now we basically need to create and initialize that plugin. So let's come down here and create a class to do that. Now, I basically stole this from the Godot documentation. So they actually have this bit here that you guys can use. But what I'll show you guys is how to build it. So class Android export plugin extends editor export plugin, like that. And this is basically where you build that plugin. And we will come over here and basically create a plugin name. So var plugin name is equal to quote, and we're going to name our plugin. So hello world. I know it seems like we're repeating a lot of information, and we kind of have to, unfortunately. Godot doesn't exactly make this simple, so we just kind of have to make it work. So first things first, what the Godot community recommends is that you check to see if your stuff is supported by that platform. So we'll say func underscore supports platform, and we'll basically say if platform is editor export platform Android, then return true. And this is basically Godot's way of allowing us to determine if we are on the proper platform. So if you're not on the proper platform, it's not going to load that plugin, if that makes sense. So that's what that's for. Then we'll say func underscore get underscore Android libraries platform debug. And basically what this is for is it will return where that AAR binary is. So you can check if debug like so, and then you can basically return a packed string array of bracket, and then wherever our stuff is located. So in our case, it's located in hello world / and we got to come up with our AAR file. So I believe we named it appdebug.aar. We should probably change that, but for right now, we'll go with that. So appdebug AAR, and then we'll say else, and we'll just copy this and paste it because I'm just going to use the debug one. But if you have a release version of that AAR file, that's what this is for. You could put that guy in there and it'll actually work. And now we need to tell Android if there's any special dependencies that go with this. So we'll say func underscore get underscore Android dependencies. And then we could basically just do the exact same thing here, copy this and paste it, and then basically send back an empty pack string array because we don't have any dependencies. Now, this is useful if you have any dependencies that you need to have brought along with you. You could put them in here and it will bring them along. And then the last one that we need is to get back our name. So we'll say func underscore get name like that. And we're going to return our plugin name like that. And that's basically all that you need to create your editor plugin. And now all we have to do is come up here and basically initialize it. So var export plugin is type Android export plugin. Now remember, this does not have to be Android export plugin. I did this because that's just what they have as default, but you could call it whatever you want and it will work. And then we'll come down here and initialize our plugin. So export plugin is equal to Android export plugin dot new like that. And then we can hit add export plugin. And then on exit, we're going to want to clean that up, right? So we'll say remove export plugin like that. And then export plugin is equal to null. Now you might be wondering, okay, Mitch, what the world is all of this stuff, right? Well, all of this allows us to bring that plugin into memory and use that plugin inside of the editor. It allows us to be able to actually read the plugin data and use it as expected, if that makes sense. And it also allows us to register it with the Godot runner so that it knows that we have this plugin, more or less. Now, at this point, what we have to do is we have to go to project, install Android build template, and click install. Now, if this doesn't exist for you, you need to install the actual export template. So if you go to export and you click add Android, if you see anything down here that says, hey, like you can't export because of such and such, make sure that you run through that. I do go through a lot of that in my Android export tutorial, so check that out. But then we need to make sure we click use Gradle build because that's going to actually allow us to have a Gradle build. Now, at this point, we're basically done. We can use our stuff. So let's click close. Let's go to user interface. Let's right click, add in a child node. Let's add in a button like so. Let's right click our control, attach a script, and let's call it scene manager because I always have a scene manager. I'm going to hit Control S, save this as control. And then I'm going to click on this button, node button down, and I'm going to connect it to my control node. Now I am also going to adjust this button to make it nice and large. And I will say hello world on that button. So if I click on it like that. Now, if I go back to here, how do we actually interact with that plugin? That's a whole nother conversation that we have to have because interacting with a plugin is completely different than doing anything else, right? And thankfully, it is relatively easy. Let's go up to the top and say var plugin. And then let's come down to our ready and say if engine dot has singleton quote and our name of our class, hello world, like that. And then we can come in here and say, if we have that plugin, var plugin is equal to engine.get singleton. Well, I need capital E. Quote, hello world, like that. Else, we're going to print an error. Cannot find plugin. And then under our button down press, let's go ahead and fire off that hello world. So plugin dot hello world. And I don't remember if we capitalized hello world or if we just did hello. I think we just did hello. Let's take a look at our plugin. We did hello. That was it with a capital H. So we'll do hello. And now from here, we can actually plug in our Android device. So let me go ahead and grab that and I will be right back. And once you have it plugged in, you should be able to see in the upper right-hand corner right here, this little icon called Remote Debug. Now, if you don't have this icon, that's totally fine, but it is something that can be really useful. So go ahead and see if you guys have that and just make sure that, you know, that your remote debug is set up. And if it's not set up, go through my tutorial. I walk you guys through this part. So we'll click remote debug, click Google Pixel 7 in my case, and it says no main scene has been defined. Let's go ahead and just select current. That's going to select my current scene. And we're going to let this export. Hopefully it exports properly. It probably won't. It never does the first time for me. So we'll see how that goes. But it should hopefully work. Oh, wow. It actually worked the first time. So that's really surprising, actually. So let's come in here and you'll see that we have our Android plugin. Now, if we click hello world, well, nothing happens. So what in the world happened? Well, let's go CMD. Let's take a look. So let's do ADB logcat-s Godot. User script error, non-existent function hello on base nil. Cannot find plugin. So it could not find our hello world plugin. So somewhere in this entire linking process, we made a mistake. So that's good. So let's take a step back. Let's look at what we did. So our hello world is set up correctly. I believe here we called hello world out right here. So hello world. So that's good. We have our package right here. So that should be good. Our Android manifest has hello world here. So that's good. This is the correct path with hello world calling out our class. So that's good. We look at our build Gradle. That looks fine. We look at this guy. We have our namespace right here. So that is good. This is a library. So that's good. All of this probably would have had a build error if we actually made a mistake. So thankfully, I don't think this is the problem. So let's take a look in here. We have our plugin config, which is correct. But I'm curious, if we go up to our project settings, and we take a look at our plugins, it is enabled. So that's unfortunately not the issue, which kind of stinks because I was hoping it was that. If we take a look at our hello world, you can see that it is pointing to the correct GD script, I believe, but it's possible that it might not be. We take a look at this. We have hello world right here, and then we're pointing to an app debug.aar. If we take a look at our hello world, we have our app debug AAR. So that should be correct. So something went wrong. Here's our plugin name, hello world. That's correct as well. So unfortunately, we're going to be caught in a bad spot, I think. We do have our project set up. This is correct here. Okay, so I think I figured it out. So basically, what's going on is that we need to inform the Godot Gradle system that our plugin exists. Now, from what I have figured out is basically we need to add in some build config fields. So if we come in here and type build config field, parentheses, quote, string, comma, Godot underscore plugin underscore name, comma, quote, slash quote, other slash quote. And then we'll put in our class. So hello world slash quote, quote, like that. And then we basically need to do the same thing, but down here in the build types. So we'll come in here and we'll say build config file or field, I should say. And then we'll paste it twice. We'll change this to plugin package name. And we'll go in here and go org.godot engine.plugin dot, and then we'll use our actual Android plugin tutorial. So we'll go Android plugin tutorial dot hello world. And that's basically going to tell Godot where the package is. And then we'll come in here and have hello world, and then we'll say plugin name like that. And then we need to do the exact same thing, but for debug. So we'll copy this and we'll type debug bracket bracket paste. Now you can't use this without having the build feature on. So we'll come in here and we'll say build features and do build config is equal to true like that. And that'll basically allow for this to work out. Now, once we have this, there's another small issue I ran into in the RES folder. There's a bunch of additional folders in here. If you just expand that and get rid of everything in there, so just delete that entire, folder structure out and just leave the RES folder here, and it should be fine. And now from here, we'll hit build. We'll let this build, and it's mad, so we did it wrong. So let's take a look. Could not find method debug for arguments. I think it's because we have parentheses around these. I don't think you're supposed to have parentheses. So let's get rid of those parentheses like this. Do the same thing down here. Get rid of these parentheses. And then let's see what happens if we hit build. And there we go. We have a successful build. So now let's go into our AAR. Let's go into our hello world. Let's control A, copy, paste, replace, and we're good to go. So now if we head back to Godot here and we take a look at our code here, you'll notice that we have a var here. Let's get rid of that because we don't want to do that. Basically, that var makes it so that we can't have a global reference to that plugin. So once it gets down here, it's basically null, right? So now we can hit debug and we'll click hello world. And you'll see that it pops up with hello world. Awesome. So our plugin is actually working. It's now running out. It's firing this off right here, and it's getting it to work. So now the question is, great. So we have everything working. So how do we return stuff? Well, that's easy. If we type string like this, and then we come down here, we can actually just return hello world with a bunch of exclamation points. So now if we build this, you'll see that if we go into our AAR, our hello world, copy this guy, paste it, replace destination, go in here, and then just say print bracket hello world like that. If we rerun this, you'll see that since we have that ADB logcat up, we can take a look at this. So if we hit hello world, it's going to come back and print out that hello world because we returned that hello world back to Godot. So that's basically how you send stuff out and receive things. So now the question is, okay, so we have all of that, which is exciting. How do we do signals? Because signals is a gigantic part of Godot. Well, that's actually really simple. If we head back to our Android Studio right here, we can come down here and create a signal. So when you want to create a signal, all you have to do is create a function for it. So we'll say public set signal info get plugin signals like that. And then all we have to do is say set signal info signals is equal to a new array set like that. And then we're going to return that signal like that. Now it's going to be mad at us. So let's hover over here and see what's going on. It says that something clashes with something else. So I'm going to right click show context, make plugin signals, return Java set plugin signal. So we'll click on that, and that's going to fix our issue. And then all we have to do is just add that signal. So we'll say signals.add, and we can add in a new signal info, and then we can name it. So we'll say hello signal, like that. And then we can do, if we want to return something, we can go comma, and then we can put in what we want to return. So in my case, I'll just do a string like that, string.class. And there we go. And then I can come in here and emit that signal. So we can say emit signal, quote, hello signal, like that, comma, and we'll pass in what we want to send back. So this is a return from a signal, like that. And now we can build this, and we should be good to go. It should build successfully, hopefully. We'll click on our app debug AAR, we'll paste it over, replace, and then we'll go back to Godot like this. We will come in here and we'll basically connect up our signal. Now, thankfully, this should be relatively easy. Let's just come up to our plugin up here. When we get our plugin, we'll say plugin dot, and then we can pick our signal name. And I believe our signal name was hello signal. So we'll do that. Paste dot connect, and then we can pass in the function we want to run. Now, in my case, the function I want to run is just going to be func signal return, and I'm going to pass in my string that I get back. So I'll just do str like that, and I'll just print that str. And then I'll connect that signal return like that. Now, I don't think I need to do that. I could just do that. If I remember correctly, that should work. Now, if I hit play, in theory, this should work, hopefully. So we'll bring up this guy here. We'll click hello world, and you'll see that we have hello world, and then this is a return from a signal. So we successfully subscribed to our signal and fired off our signal return when that signal got emitted. And now that you have the basics, that's pretty much everything that you need to know about how to do a plugin with the new version 2 Android plugin system inside of Godot. So if you like this video, go and hit that like button. Hey, if you dislike this video, go and hit that dislike button, because I'm here to make content for you guys. This video was a viewer suggested tutorial, which is what all of my tutorials are. So if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below, or jump on my GitHub. Link is in the description to my suggestion slot, and just go ahead and suggest something. That's how I keep track of all of my suggestions as it is. So it's really helpful for me to keep things organized there. And hey, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below, or jump on my Discord. Link is in the description, and anybody there will be more than happy to help you out. I frequent that Discord all the time, so I can always help you guys out if I see your message. But that is all I have for you guys today. So thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks.